And good afternoon. I hope you all got a chance to listen to our Rabbi Horowitz from the island. We've also had a lot of questions that have come in regarding, because believe it or not, we have 400 children on this island, which tells you and shows you the ages are dropping here beautifully. But along with that comes, obviously, they read in the paper about the computer problems, the opening, the virtual, will it go to live, will it not be live? So they don't know what's going on. And for those of you that don't know, have not met, I'm thrilled to have with us Mayor Enid Weisman, Mayor of Aventura. But Enid wears a lot of different hats, and the mayoral hat is probably the last one in what she has done. Her career has been in education, and she has done everything up into including hiring Mr. Cavallo, the chairman of our school board in Dade County. So I want to introduce you to Enid, and I'd like her to explain a little about what's going on in Dade County with the schools, tell us a little about what our schools are doing, how we've done with our opening, and tell us some of the challenges and how you, maybe tell us how you hired Mr. Cavallo to be what he is today. But I think they should hear, but the most important thing is there's so much confusion and questioning going on about the opening of schools. Is it open? Isn't it? How is it for children? Is it healthy for them? Isn't it? I leave it to you, Mayor Weisman.
Bob, thank you. Thank you so very much. One thing that we all know is that these are the times that try men's souls. They try women's souls too. We don't have a roadmap. We haven't been down this path before. And I think I'll start with just a cute anecdotal story, since you asked me how I happened to hire the superintendent, Mr. Carvalho. It was the end of August, nearing the end of August. I was an assistant principal at Miami-Jackson Senior High, and I had an opening for a chemistry teacher. And my chances of getting a chemistry teacher were really pretty slim and none that late in the year. And my secretary said, "There's someone here to see you." And I said, "I'm really busy." And she said, "Well, it looks like he could teach chemistry."
And boy, did he get in fast.
Yeah, and I said, let me see that application. And I said, "Come on in." And within minutes, I had made up my mind that I was hiring him. And we've been friends for a little over 30 years. Later on, I was fortunate enough, when I was a principal, to hire him as my assistant principal. And then I retired from the school system, and he turned around and hired me back and said, "I'm the superintendent now. We can do good work together. Would you please come back?" And I went back for a number of years, which kind of brings us to the situation that all of us are in today. And I don't think it's unique to Miami. It's certainly not unique, not unique to Aventura. We see all over the country. We can't help but see every night what's going on. And we have the headlines in the paper. University of North Carolina opens. A week later, they're having to close. Different school systems are opening and closing. So first, let's talk a little bit about the two schools that we have right here in Aventura. We opened last year Don Sofer Senior High School with 200 ninth graders. We've added 200 more this year, giving us a total a little over 400 students. And at ACES, we have a little over 1,000 K-8 students. Right now, all students are learning virtually. Okay, Dade County has not been authorized to move into phase 2. And, one thing that I think all the medical experts agree upon is when you have large numbers of people in a confined area, you're really looking for problems. So if you think for a second about ACES, with over 1,000 children and maybe 150 teachers and other employees, you're bringing close to 1,200 people into a building. We shouldn't really be asking when this is going to happen. We all want it to have happened yesterday. The real question is, how are we going to do it in order to make our parents, our students, our teachers, and quite honestly, you and me comfortable with what the plan is? So I think on September 17th, we are having a commission workshop, and I'm getting a plug in. Please please go on the Zoom and listen to it. The management company that runs our schools, Charter USA, will be there with a presentation telling us what they think, with all of the national attention that this has gotten. And Charter School USA has schools in 7 different states, many of which have been opened for a number of weeks. So they have the benefit of lessons learned, and they know what went right and what went wrong. So both Commissioner Shelley and I will hear about that next week?
Yeah.
Okay. And please, there is a chat function on Zoom. And I know you have 1,000 questions, because I get questions every day. Commissioner Shelley gets questions every day. Please don't hesitate to write them in the chat box. We will respond to every single question and make sure that you have answers. Now, as I said, all children right now are learning remotely. So here is the decision. Knowing that bringing 1,000 children back into a school is probably a plan that will go awry very quickly. We're anxious to hear what Charter USA's plan is. And from what we know about the instructional material they have and the technology that they've bought, they bought a system called OWL. And I hope it's because the owl's supposed to be very wise. But what it has is a 350-degree camera that allows a teacher to physically be in a classroom with maybe half the students in the classroom and the other half in their homes, but able to talk dynamically, real time, and see the other children in the room. That's the system that we will have in every single classroom in ACES. And again, we've both just gotten, like the 60,000-foot view. We really want to know, what is it going to be like? The children come through the door, and what are the expectations? What can we better tell our parents to do to prepare them? My background pretty much is high school, and I know I would have no problem as a high school principal. All I would say is, if you don't wear your mask, you don't get a parking place. Mm-hmm. You come to school, but you don't get a parking place. All the kids in high school would wear the masks. Yep. But we know when you're talking about 5- and 6-year-olds that there are other kinds of challenges, and we both look forward to hearing about it. That's why I'm inviting all of you, please, to listen to our workshop. I think immediately following the workshop, we may have a commission meeting, but the workshop is going to be the presentation from Charter School USA, right. And I think it's important. So that kind of gives you where we are, even up to next week, when we're going to be hearing the latest. The only thing I haven't shared, that I think we both can take some pride in bragging rights, I want to announce to the community at Williams Island that first year as a high school with 200 ninth grade students, those 200 students took over 600 Cambridge exams. That's college level exams, and they had an 88.9 yes. passing rate, one of the Amazing. Highest in the entire country. Yes. And I haven't checked, because Cambridge is international. I haven't checked internationally, but it's up there with the finest private and public institutions in the country, mm-hmm. and these were just our ninth graders. Can you imagine what they're going to do when they're in 11th and 12th grade? Additionally, the only AP, advanced placement course we offered was human geography, and it was almost a 90% pass rate. Yeah. Again, just outstanding. I have to commend the teachers, and I really wanted to share that good news.
That is great.
With Williams Island.
And what's interesting is people can live forget not only Williams Island, all of Aventura, start their children in kindergarten, go through high school without a penny. Doesn't cost them a dime.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing. And I will tell you, as an example, ACES, we have over 1,100 students on a waiting list to get into the school. The high school, we opened 9th grade last year. We had full house. We opened 10th grade, full house. And the education is amazing. But the virtual, we've had a tremendous response to it with no glitches in the computer system. Because I know, explain a little about what did happen, because we didn't have that, luckily.
Dade County went with a platform. The platform is a Fortune 500 company. It's called K-12, My Learning Platform. And it's hard to conceive of the size, but in Dade County Public Schools, you're talking about 400,000 people hitting a button on a computer at the same time. I would tell you, I think even Google and Microsoft would have trouble with 400, and probably more than 400,000.
Is that how many kids Dade County has in the
They
school
have
system?
about 350,000, but then you have to include all the teachers and all the parents that were home, and and everybody else. And part of it, what was explained in the Herald, was there was a kid who, for us, computers are very, very technically challenging. For kids that have grown up with them since they were 3 or 4, they know how to take them apart and put them back together again. So the hacking was a very unsophisticated kind of a hack, but it just made, instead of the number of real kids clocking on, lining up at the same time, it almost tripled that number.
Wow.
And it just blew up the system. But with that said, we're all going to have challenges with technology this year, okay? We've never been designed for school to be given 100% in a virtual reality. Some kids will do wonderfully that way, and I think that will be one of the great things that we can say 5 years from now from the pandemic. We changed education a little bit. It's not one size fits all, where maybe that kid that's super bright in math doesn't need to wait to get to high school or 8th grade to take algebra. If he's ready in 6th grade, he can take it virtually. I think we're going to see some real changes in the world. But with all real change, there's a lot of pain. Okay, there's a lot of pain. I can remember, and it would be much the same for you, my grandmother telling me stories about New York and the push carts. And I'm going, what's a push cart?
Yeah.
What's a push cart? Well, one day we may be explaining to children what a classroom used to be, because you can virtually learn everywhere, and hopefully we're all learning every single day. Teachers had a very difficult time accessing the system, from what I understand.
Yeah.
The students were given passwords and codes, and when they entered it, the screen popped up with error message. And because everyone's in their own home, you can't turn around to the school's technician and say, hey, come here, we need help, there's something wrong. So whether it was device related, it certainly was problematic, and it remains problematic. Into this week of school, it's still problematic. They're ending their contract with K-12. Florida has had a virtual school for over a decade now, so that curriculum is always available. But as you see, I'm a teacher, and I could sit here and talk all day. And if you wanted me to teach you government, which is what I taught, I don't need somebody else's curriculum. It's almost like we've forgotten. Teachers know the subject matter that they're teaching. What we might not know is how to use the technology, but Zoom makes it very easy. And I think that what I was hearing all night last night from the school board meeting is the other platform that was very easy, and we use it in our schools as well, particularly ACES, is Microsoft Teams.
Yes.
So, every day there'll be new software. We will get through this. Kids are very resilient. I've always been amazed that parents are always worried. And I was principal of Crop. I opened Crop, and when we opened, I can't tell you the number of parents that said, but it's such a big school. They're used to being in a much smaller environment. And I went, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Well, they are fine. The kids will do fine with this. Most of them in high school are already, they're already logged in. They're doing their classwork. They understand and they get it. And we're going to have to give some extra time to the very little ones.
One of the things that's coming out now is obviously the fact that the age of those getting the virus are older, but it's also because they're claiming, the doctors are saying, that the kids haven't been exposed because they've been home. And once they go to school, Obviously, they're going to get exposed and hopefully get it less, if not at all. But one of the biggest challenges, you have certain people that feel that the children are missing out on the socialization, and the other side says they want to be home because it's safe. But as you said, children are resilient. And to me, the precaution that we've all taken, and the county, and I commend the superintendent, is be safe. Err on the side of caution, because the kids will come back. But do you feel as a teacher there's any loss in the lack of socialization, or do you think it'll come back with time anyhow?
I think that depends upon the child and the child's family. A number of years ago, I did a little bit of research on homeschooling. Nothing to do with the pandemic, but it was about how are these kids that never
Yeah,
interact
that's a good point.
with other children, what is the homeschooling like? And what I found out, and this was interviewing those children, that all of them had very strong networks outside of school, whether it was with their church group or synagogue group or neighborhood group, athletic leagues after
Right.
school. Most of those kids did not miss out on social. I was surprised because I thought they would miss out. I think where it really becomes crucial is 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we're learning those are such important years for foundation
Yeah,
skills.
yeah.
You learn addition, you learn subtraction, and it's going to be a challenge. Some kids are going to come in and they're going to know it because there are thousands of computer games, games that teach the addition and subtraction and add new words to the vocabulary. And I think it's going to show us some wonderful things, but it's also going to show us the digital divide between the haves and the have-nots, and how hard it is for a family. Dade County Public Schools gave a device to every single
Really?
child.
Wow.
Okay, I'm not going to say a computer because in some cases
Yeah.
it's iPads. And I don't know if you've seen, but for like kindergarten and first grade, they're like an iPad, but they're heavily cased in rubber.
So that, when they drop them, they don't break,
can
yeah.
almost float. Every child's been given that, but there's a tremendous difference. If that's the only electronic device in that house, and maybe a cell phone, then compare it to maybe a home on Williams Island with 2 kids. They have their own computer. Mom's got a computer. Dad's got a computer.
right.
Everybody's got a cell phone.
Yes.
There's so much more that they know and are able to do to help their children.
See, I think in many ways technology has been an equalizer. And whether you're rich, poor, white, black, whatever you are, it makes no difference under this condition, because everyone's at home, everyone's got the same workshop, everyone's got the same paraphernalia to work with, they have the same study program, and it makes no difference about ethics or finances or anything. You're all doing the same thing, and it takes away, what are you wearing today? Do you have the nicer clothes? Don't you have the nice clothes? So there's really been a very interesting demographic change and socialization of a change to the way people are treated. It's almost like more equal has come out of this.
As long as they have connectivity.
Yeah.
And Comcast this year, because, and it's always good to thank the business community for really extending itself. It said it would provide free access to any student in Dade, wherever their family lived in Dade County. But it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Because, we also as a city have to contract, not the city, but the condos contract with vendors for doing it. Bandwidth for that many children was hard.
It's a lot,
and,
yeah.
and I think it is going to be challenging. But I think if what you said was true, that the access was there all the time, then I think eventually it's going to be
Yeah.
a great equalizer.
Oh, it
because
is, yeah.
we all could hear in a Zoom the best professor at Harvard or
Right.
the expert on quantum physics from MIT. We could all go in and hear it, and that's what education of the future will be like. It will be, what are you interested, what do you want to know now, and here, go get it.
Well, as a teacher, you realize technology has gone 10 years into the future today. Because of the mother of invention. Necessity
Yeah.
is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
That is, thank God we've had technology now. Because if this happened 20 years ago, there wouldn't have been any of this. So, unfortunately, education really hasn't missed much, considering the downside of it. I think the socialization probably is more hampered in the college level, where kids aren't getting into the student unions and going to the games and such, But that will pass.
It will pass.
That's gonna, like, as the rabbi said, this shall pass. It's a rough time now, and health to me is the most important time, but I think the kids in the schools are still doing very well, aren't they?
They're doing amazingly well. Attitude is 90
Yeah.
is 90% of it. This will not be here forever. It may be a challenging year, and many schools may open, and then come November, December, they may have to close for a few weeks, and they'll reopen. And I figure this is what this portion of reality is like.
Well, I have to ask you, because obviously, being an educator, you have so many people that are teachers. How do the teachers feel about, we hear so much about the kids. How do the teachers feel about what's going on now in their teaching and such?
I think it's deeply personal. Dade County Public Schools, about 20,000 teachers. It's disproportionately skewed to advanced ages. We have more teachers that have taught 20 years and more than we have in the first 5 years. It's an aging workforce, respectfully saying that. Most of the teachers I know personally can't wait to get back with the children.
Yeah.
Others, last night, listening to the meeting, were very worried about going back into a classroom. They see it differently than from the nurses that are in the hospitals, or even the cashiers that are seeing 100 or 200 people a day and have been doing it, from the very beginning. They feel that they're in a room, and if it's 30, 35 kids, and most of the schools in Dade County are over 50 years old. So the air conditioning systems, lots of the electrical backbones, might not be there. But I think that given choice, and that's choice for both teachers and parents, that parents are going to at some point make a choice. Do you want to send your child back to school this year, or do you want them to remain learning virtually this year? And teachers will hopefully be given the same.
It'll be a hybrid.
And then you can maybe it'll never match just evenly,
Yeah.
but it's once in 100-year pandemic. We're doing the best we can. I would tell everybody to take a deep breath, that kids are going to learn. They didn't lose anything this first week. I don't care where they went to school.
Sure.
That they're learning more at your dinner table at night, and by hearing your attitude and your comments, they're going to be just fine. I know they can't wait to get back to school and see their friends. It's like we are. Okay?
Sure.
It's no different.
No, we want to get back.
We just sort of, all of a sudden, one day, everything sort of stood still.
I know.
And it's a very interesting time, and it'll be interesting for us to see how we slowly move out of this.
Well, I'd say the superintendent took a very bold step when he said it's not opening, because a lot of superintendents around the country didn't do that. He took and I respect him for that, because he took a lot of criticism. But you know something? In the end result, he's right. And he did it properly.
He will always err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
Okay, he's deeply committed to children. He also knows, and I will say from the bottom of my heart, I believe this too, we can't get back to being a normal society until children are in school physically, okay? And until it's safe for them to be there.
Yeah.
We can't get back to the life we knew before. But whether the vaccine comes out this December or next December, we don't control it. But we do control how we react to it. And learning opportunities abound. I think that, especially in our city, children are very, very lucky that we have the family structure and the religious structure and foundation that we have. And I hope that they know that the city's always available to them. Mm-hmm. Great athletic programs, great Little League programs, all kinds of activities. As soon as they say it's safe, and thank goodness, we all have our iPads and the computers and the phone to play all of our video games. I don't know what we would do without them.
Well, it's interesting because when we built the high school, and we did it through our administration, we were very fortunate in Aventura because having someone like the mayor who's grown up and lived her life of education, this was a great asset to us, because I cannot tell you how many thousands of hours the mayor has spent. I don't know that I'd want to be Charter Schools USA, because I'm not so sure they're really running things. But pretty much like your husband, he thinks he's running things, but he really isn't, you know.
Except he really is.
But I got to tell you, I live with you like this throughout the commission for all these years, and I've watched what you've done in the school. So I must tell you, we don't get a chance to say these things often, but working together with the mayor, as I have, and watching what she has done and devoted the time you spent to make sure our schools are what they are. And the end result is, results speak for themselves. So I can't thank you enough from the island and from everyone, because I've seen it. I've seen what you've done.
Well, I have to thank you too, Bob, because it was interesting. You know, every commission gets a personality of their own.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, every 8 years is there. And some of the former commissioners said to me, how come we never built a high school? And I said, gee, that's a great question. But I can say that the commission that Bob and I were part of, education was deeply important to both of us and to many other members of the commission. It was the #1 priority.
It was what they wanted.
Before we became elected.
Yes.
And I think we made a pretty good team with Bob's background in construction and building. We spent hours planning this school, months, days, years.
We did.
Really 2.5 years before it really happened. And I think when you had the best in terms of building and being able to maximize a relatively small place, it was a small spot that we've created something that's going to be magical, and it's going to be, you know, it's there forever for the community. And it's probably one of the things we're both the proudest of.
And of course, we have to thank the Sofa family, because they really did help to make this all happen for us. But it was the #1 item we wanted to accomplish in the commission.
Yes.
But we were very fortunate. You know, all the stars aligned with the proper commission to be able to accomplish what we've accomplished. And I will tell you, it doesn't stop just because it's built. I can't tell you, and that's why when the mayor said, listen on the 17th, because that will be one of those meetings, workshops, where the decisions start to get made as to what we do in the future. And it's open to the public. Every single meeting is open to the public, to every parent. And you'll get to hear and be part of the decision making. And I think that's what we need. You know, we need the input.
Absolutely. And if for whatever reason you can't watch it, and it's just not this meeting, it's any meeting.
Yeah.
You can always request the video or the notes of it. It's public record. There's nothing that we say or do that isn't transparent. But what Bob just said is so important. We do want to hear from the parents. And I'll tell you, we also want to hear from the kids. I've gotten my best ideas from my students.
And I will tell you, at every meeting, they start off with a report from the kids, from the high school and from ACES. And I want to tell you, some of these kids are our future leaders. They make us look a little bad once in a while. They are so brilliant in their speaking.
And we're so proud of them when they leave their time coming in front of us every month, and they go on to college, and then they come back and they visit and they talk. It's just something. You know, when you said how many kids are on the island, the last report that I read, I'm going to ask you, do you know what the median age in Aventura is now?
I'm guessing 48, 49?
You're pretty close. 44 years old.
Wow. Is it that low?
Well, yeah.
That is amazing.
And this was done by Invest Magazine that's doing a story on Aventura. But yeah, we're getting younger every day. We welcome our kids.
We see it on the island.
Right. We welcome them. We're thinking about other opportunities for them.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna stop today. No. So I'm excited, and just know this will pass. It will pass.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on, because we get so many questions, Stephanie and myself, and I'd rather them hear it from you. So I thank you so much for what you've done, what you do, and what you continue to do. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.